Good morning, all of you. In today's session, we are going to discuss about CSIR NET JRF Chemical Science December 2018, Part C, Series 1. Okay, we are going with regarding all the previous year question papers of CSIR NET JRF Chemical Science. Chemical Science papers are going to be what recorded. So we are going to solve all the previous year question papers. In this regard, we already finished with the 2019 two seasons. June as well as the December papers have been completed. And in 2018, June paper, entire part B and part C question paper solving have been completed. Now, we entered into December 2018, where part B entire session in the single video, we got completed entire part B session. So now we entered into part C of December 2018. So it is very difficult to record all the questions in the single session. That's why we are making into different series. Each series consists of 10 questions, right? So this will be very much helpful for your CSR preparation and GATE as well. And let us enter into our actual concept. Here, so December 2018 Part C Series 1 of CSIR NET Chemical Science, that we are going to discuss. Question number 61, the ligand that binds strongly to the nickel center in 2,2 by pyridine nickel 0 complex. Okay, so here different ligands have been given to us. Among all the ligands, which ligand will strongly binds to the complex of nickel? Here, nickel exists in the form of chelate ring system, where we have two pyridine rings. It is the chelated system, dipyridine nickel 0. This complex was taken. When this complex bind to all these, among all these ligands, which will be more stronger in nature? The strength of stability of complex mainly depends upon electron withdrawing nature on this double bond. Olefinic double bond is a bifunctional in nature, and that used to give the two electrons to the central metal, right? So in that case, when electron withdrawing groups are there, what happens? That bond becomes more strong. When we consider all these, here we have acetic anhydride. This double bond, both the sides, it is associated with the electron withdrawing carbonylic functional groups, right? So strong tendency to electrons, that's why here electron withdrawing nature is more. And here OAC, one side electron withdrawing group is there. In case of this one, OMe, being it is electron releasing, it will not impart any stability. So, and even here we have ethyl group attached to this double bond. Hence, we can say it is a electron donor rather than electron withdrawing agent. Due to hyperconjugation, electrons have been released into the double bond so that it will destabilize the strength of this complex. Hence, among all the known options, the first one will be the suitable. Let us see how it will be possible. When we take this anhydride, what it will be? So here are two possibilities. We have maleic anhydride and fumaric anhydride. It is the kind of maleic anhydride, right? So in this case, here two electron withdrawing groups are there, which used to stabilize and which used to form the strong bond with the central nickel. Hence, for question 61, option number 1 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 62. It is a kind of match the following. Magic number, liquid drop model of the nucleus, actinides and threshold energy terms are given in the column 1, and the relevant term should be mapped in this column 2 options. Let us go with first one, magic numbers. Magic number stands for whatever the nucleus taken in that completely filled, either protons or neutrons are present, which impart the stability to the molecule. Magic number stands for the nuclear consisting either neutrons or protons which are completely filled in the nature, right? That used to impart the stability to the molecule is called a magic number, and magic number purely deals with the shell model of the nucleus, right? Let us see. Magic number is the number of nucleons. Nucleons may be, you may take either protons or neutrons separately. And when they exist in complete shells within the atomic nucleus, that used to give the stability. That purely explained based on shell model. Hence, magic number mapped with this option number 4. And the second is about liquid drop model of the nucleus, right? So nucleus is the central part where electrons are revolving in the fixed orbits around the nucleus because of electrostatic forces of attractions. Here, liquid drop model of nucleus, which is suggested by this scientist, Russian-born American scientist George Gamow. So he further extended. First scientist who developed this one is liquid drop model is developed by a Russian-born American physicist George Gamow, formulated in 1929. First, he developed this concept, and later, Australian physicist Lise Meitner and Otto French used this model for in order to explain the nuclear fission kind of reactions. Okay, so nuclear fission is nothing but whenever larger nucleus is there, which is highly unstable in the nature and having strong tendency to bisected into a smaller species when it is bombarded with a neutron. And in this process, huge amount of energy liberation is possible. This entire process purely based on the nuclear stability. So this is explained based on this liquid drop model of the nucleus. So for option number B, correct answer will be nuclear fission. Now let us go with third one, that is actinides. Right, lanthanides and actinides are said to be F block elements. They are present at the bottom of periodic table. And actinides, all the actinides are radioactive in nature. The reason will be these atomic nucleus are of larger in size. Why these are larger in size? The shells, more number of shells are present in this. That's the reason why central nucleus is highly destabilized. In order to get the stability, always radiation will be emitted from the nucleus. This is a process of radioactivity emission. Hence, we can say all the actinides are radioactive in nature, right? So for option number C, right mapping will be radioactivity. And next is about threshold energy, right? So here, let us see what is threshold energy. So alongside the fission, Q value calculation program allows you to calculate reaction and the threshold energies. By using Q values, it is possible to calculate threshold energy of the molecule. Threshold energy stands for the required energy in order to convert reactants into products. So in order to convert reactants into products, how much energy is required actually, that is said to be a threshold energy. The threshold energy is exactly calculated by using the parameter called the Q value. So D is exactly mapped with 2. So for question number 62, magic number with shell model 4 and liquid drop model nuclear fission 1, actinides will be radioactivity 3, threshold energy Q value 2. So option number 1 will be the right answer. So for question number 62, option number 1 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 63. In this question number 63, the cluster type and geometry of the species rhodium-9 phosphorus carbonyl taken 21 whole minus 2 R. Here the complex of rhodium was given. We have to determine its cluster type and even its geometry, right? In order to predict its cluster type, we have the formula. So what will be the formula? Total valency electrons minus 12 into n by 2 will be the formula in order to predict its cluster type. And the empirical formulas are given whether it may be closo, nido, arachno, hypo. So n plus 1 formula resides closo. N plus 2 gives rise to nido structure. N plus 3 denotes arachno structure of the compound. If n plus 4 is there, that will be hypo in nature, right? So based on this, we have to predict what kind of cluster structure is existed in the given complex and subsequent geometry to be predicted. In order to get that, first let us count total valency electrons present in this given complex anion. Here, rhodium complex, how many rhodium metals are there? 9 rhodium metals. Each rhodium consisting 9 valency electrons in its valency shell. So 9 into 9 it will be taken. And the phosphorus, being phosphorus pentavalent, we have to give 5 electrons, and here only one phosphorus is there. Plus 5 it will be. And how many carbonyl groups are there? Carbonyl groups are 21. So each carbonyl contributes 2 electrons. 21 into 2 it will be. And this entire complex is associated with -2, means more 2 electrons to be added to this valency electron count. Right now it will be 9 into 9 plus 5 for phosphorus, 21 into 2 given for carbonyl, and 2 are given by this -2 charge. Entire valency electron count for this complex will be 130. Now let us substitute this in the formula which is provided here. Total valency electrons 130 minus 12 into n. N stands for number of metal atoms in the complex. Here we have 9 metal atoms, that's why 12 into 9 by 2. 130 minus 12 into 9 by 2. So this will be the formula in order to predict its a cluster type. So when we substitute all these, value of this is given by 11, right? So 11 it will be. Now let us see how it will be mapped with closonido-arachno. When we have skeletal electron counts 11, what happens? So this 11, n, how many metal atoms are there? 9. In order to equalize to 11, 9 can be added with 2. So that means 9 plus 2 becomes 11. Hence it will be n plus 2 type of cluster. So n plus 2 is equal to 9 plus 2, 11 is the skeletal electron count, right? So when n plus 2 formula is imparted, now we can say the cluster will be nido in nature. For this rhodium complex, nido cluster will be given. Among all the given options, we have third and fourth resided with a nido, and among these, based on geometry, we can predict the exact answer for this one. Okay, and more one prediction is there, that is if 130 electron count is there, the compound is regarded as a capped square antiprismatic. This is the empirical relation. If entire valency count for the given complex is 130, you can directly assume that it will be the capped square antiprismatic. If 120 electron count is there, that will be cubic in nature, right? So when we see its a total valency electron count, just to be got 130, hence directly we can go with the option capped square antiprismatic. For question number 63, option number 3 will be the right answer. Being it is the n plus 2 kind of cluster, you can regard this as a nido, and 130 valency electrons, and it will acquire capped square antiprismatic structure, right? So 63 option will be 3. Let us move on to 64. In the 64, hydroformylation of 1-propene with a H rhodium COL2 leads to linear and branched formylated products. The linear hydroformylated product is formed with the highest selectivity with the ligand the rhodium complex is. Right here, we are going to perform the hydroformylation reaction. In order to perform this hydroformylation reaction, here rhodium complex was taken. In this rhodium complex, here 2 ligands are there. When these ligands are given 4 options, when we substitute this ligand with given 4 options, among given 4 kind of ligands, which ligand will facilitate highest selectivity of hydroformylation? That thing we have to predict here, right? In order to get that, we have first one is a bidentate ligand, and 2 pph3 units are there, and here also we have pph2 units. Again, it is a bidentate, here also pph3, here also pph. So ligand remains same, but that ligand is attached with some other species will be different. Now let us see how it can be predicted. In order to get that, greater the bond angle, lesser the bond strain. Hence, a compound 3 gives the stable complex. Okay, it purely depends upon bond angle, right? So when you take this initial one pph3, here it is bounded with the ethylene, and this pph3 attached with propylene, and this will be attached with the ring structure, tricyclic ring structure was given to us. And in this, here ferrocene moiety is there. Among all these, let us see where the bond angle is larger. Subsequently, ring strain will be less. Okay, when we compare their bond angles, first one when attached to metal, angle will be 85. Second molecule attached to the metal, chelate ring will be formed. Here, first complex is able to form 5-membered chelate ring. Second compound gives a 6-membered chelate ring. Third compound is able to give very larger one, and it will be 120 bond angle. And the last will be open chain molecule, because being it is it is a kind of ferrocene. It is a kind of ferrocene. Again, here complex will be formed, and 96 bond angle will be there. Among all, highest bond angle is given for this tricyclic ring system, because there is a planarity within the molecule. Two terminal centers have benzene rings, and being it is a planar molecule, it used to concise the ring strain. That's the reason why option number 3 will be the right answer for question number 64. Right? So hydroformylation is more selective in case of the ligand when we have this kind of tricyclic ring system, being it is a highly planar in nature, used to give the lesser ring strain and the greater selectivity. Let us move on to question number 65. In this question number 65, the hydrocarbon having analogous structure to that of P4O6. Okay, so P4O6 structure is given here. So what kind of molecule is having similar kind? Analogous stands for what is having similar kind of structure. So we have to predict that. In order to get that, first we have to go with its structure of P4O6. P4O6 structure will be given here. It is a 6-membered ring and attached with more 2 6-membered rings, and it is the kind of tricyclic ring system. All are 6-membered in nature. Tricyclic ring system is there. In this tricyclic ring system, oxygen molecule is behaving like a bridge. Here you can clearly observe it is the kind of phosphorus compound where oxygen is forming a bridge among all the phosphorus. Oxygen is connecting all the phosphorus molecules. We can clearly observe. In the similar manner, when we go with option number 1, same kind of structure will be imparted. How can we do that? Here 6-membered ring will be there in this phosphorus compound. Here also you can find 6-membered ring where these methylene groups are present, and all the methylene groups now are connected by the bridged CH groups. Okay, CH2 is called methylene group, and CH group is the bridging carbon here. Okay, so in the similar manner, here also we can find a tricyclic ring system where each ring will be 6-membered only, right? So CH2 groups now connected by CH groups. So how many CH2 groups are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 CH2 groups are there. Let us count CH groups first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 CH groups are there. Hence you can write CH taken 4. And bridging carbons are methylene. CH2 is a bridging carbon which used to connect the CH group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here one more is there, 6. So bridging methylene groups are 6. So just like this P4O6, all the 6 oxygens, bridging oxygens which are connecting all the phosphorus atoms. In the similar manner, here also we have methylene groups which are connecting this CH units. So that's why CH taken 4, mu CH2 taken 6 is are having similar kind of structure just like P4O6. For question number 65, option number 1 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 66. Again, it is a kind of match the following, and it is a part of bioinorganic chemistry. Bioinorganic chemistry, these are the molecules which are present in the living organisms and which are associated with the central metal, and when they binds to oxygen, what is their corresponding frequency in the IR spectrum? Those things should be predicted. We have to map all these. First one is given as oxymyoglobin, and second is oxyhemoglobin, third one is oxyhemoerythrin. All these are the kind of iron containing pigments, iron containing oxygen carrier molecules. Option number 1, oxymyoglobin, is the agent which used to store the oxygen. The main purpose of myoglobin is to store the oxygen. And second is oxyhemoglobin. This is called oxygen carrier, used to transport the oxygen throughout the body. And third is about oxyhemoerythrin. This is also the kind of oxygen carrier. Now let us see how these molecules are associated with oxygen, what kind of oxygen association will be there, and their corresponding IR frequencies to be predicted. When oxymyoglobin was taken, the structure will be represented in this manner, where we have porphyrin rings around the iron, and here the oxygen linkage will be in the form of O2 minus. It is a kind of superoxide. O2 minus will be there, and the stretching frequency is near 1100 centimeter inverse. So oxymyoglobin, central iron bonded to oxygen in the form of superoxide O2 minus, and 1105 will be the its stretching frequency. And when we go with oxyhemoglobin, hemoglobin is the red color pigment which present in all human beings. And the central iron initially Fe+2, when bound to oxygen, it turned into Fe+3. And here, when oxygen is attached to the central iron, there is a formation of bridging oxygen, which is represented. It is not bridging oxygen, it is giving 2 electrons to the iron. Hence, it can be regarded as a neta-2. Neta stands for number of electrons given by that oxygen. Hence, in case of this molecule here, neta-2O2 minus is the correct representation of oxyhemoglobin. Hemoglobin is an oxygen carrier, where oxygen bound to the central metal in the form of neta-2O2 minus. The corresponding IR absorbing frequency will be 800 centimeter inverse, right? For this, oxyhemoglobin, neta-2O2 minus is the right answer, and 800 is the correct IR stretching frequency. When we go with oxyhemoerythrin, here you can find oxyhemoerythrin, where central iron, 2 iron metals are linked by oxygen initially. This is deoxygenated form. When oxygen bonded to this one, it will be attached in the form of O2H. Here you can find HO2 minus. It is a kind of peroxy linkage. So only one iron will be linked to this oxygen molecule, and the second iron is not in the direct contact with that oxygen, whichever absorbed by the process of respiration, right? So here the kind of HO2 minus peroxy linkage will be there, and this peroxy linkage having the absorption here 840 centimeter inverse in the IR region. So this oxyhemoerythrin is HO2 minus, and 844 is the correct match with this one. Now let us see where all these are satisfied in the given statements. Oxymyoglobin, O2 minus, and 1105 is the right answer. So first option, A3Z is the correct match. And oxyhemoglobin, where you can find neta-2, 2 electrons given by this O2 minus, where 800 will be the. That means B with 1 and Y will be the correct map with this one. B1Y is the correct map. Then third is about oxyhemoerythrin. Oxyhemoerythrin HO2 minus and 844. So oxyhemoerythrin C, HO2 minus and 844. For 66, option number 1 will be the right answer. Now let us move on to question number 67. A solid sample of sodium iron EDTA XH2O whole N. X shows 5.6 weight loss at 120 degrees centigrade in thermogravimetric experiment. Identify the complex left after this weight loss. What will be given? It is a kind of a complex which formed between iron EDTA and hydrated water molecules will be there. Within the molecule, we have water and heated to 120. It's very clear that whenever any complex heated to around 100 degrees, water will be evaporated. That's the reason why in this complex, water content will be lost and remaining portion left. When heated at 120 degrees centigrade, this 5.6 weight loss will be given by this water molecule only. Let us go with the sequential calculation for this complex formation after heating to 120. And here they clearly mentioned that thermogravimetric analysis. Thermogravimetric analysis stands for, so by thermal change, that means by rising temperature, how weight loss or how change in the weight is carried. That kind of study comes in the thermogravimetric analysis. So it is an analytical tool to determine the compound analysis by changing the temperature, right? So we are taking the complex of sodium Fe EDTA XH2 whole N, and its molecular weight is calculated as 389. So it is the molecular weight of the given complex. When this molecular weight loss is 5.6%, 389 will be the 100%. When 5.6 last remaining will be 96.4. That is only leftover material present in that complex. So if 389 will be the 100% weight of the given complex, then leftover compound 96.4, how much will be the molecular weight? So that will be cross multiplied with 389 into 96.4 divided by 100. Now it will become 367. This is one kind of calculation. Otherwise, in terms of weight loss also, it can be calculated by taking 5.6 by 100 into whole weight, that is 389. In this case here, weight loss is observed at 367. It is exactly matching with this one. In both the ways, you can go with the calculation, right? So initial weight of the compound is 389. After heating to 120 degrees, it will be reduced to 367. Now, the difference is only water molecule you can clearly observe. In between 389 to 367, water molecule around 18 weight loss is there, that is nothing but H2O. So in that case, if water lost from this molecule, the leftover moiety will be NaFeEDTA. This will be the dehydrated complex. For question number 67, option number 2 will be the right answer. Right? By simply seeing this temperature condition, we clearly observe that it is the kind of dehydration. So in that way also we can predict. But if we calculate the entire weight loss and everything, it is possible to get the exact answer. So in this way, for question number 67, option number 2 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 68, where two set of compounds are given. One is aluminum hexafluoride minus 3, phosphorus hexafluoride minus, sulfur hexafluoride 0, silicon hexafluoride minus 2. These many 4 complexes are given in the set A, and set B is given with barium hexa aquo plus 2, calcium hexa aquo plus 2, magnesium hexa aquo plus 2, and francium hexa aquo plus 2. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, here also 4 complexes are given in set B. What we have to predict? Slowest ligand exchange rate. So ligand exchange stands for whenever we are substituting, whenever we are giving another ligand to this one, if already existing ligand is eliminated, that is a kind of ligand exchange reaction. In order to exchange the ligands, there are so many parameters will influence the exchange of ligands. Now let us go with first one and second one separately, because both the factors are entirely different. In case of set A, different complexes are having same ligand. Hexafluoro is the ligand here, and the complex charge is different. That's why let us go with the prediction of oxidation state of central atom among all the set A complexes. In case of aluminium F6 minus 3, aluminium resided with +3 oxidation state. Phosphorus hexafluoro minus 1, here the charge of phosphorus will be +5. Sulfur hexafluoride, sulfur resided with +6 oxidation state. Silicon here, +6 is there, -2 compensation of charge, and the final charge in the silicon will be +4. Now, for set A molecules, the oxidation states will be +3 for aluminium, phosphorus +5, sulfur +6, and silicon +4 will be given to this. So whenever larger the charge present in the central atom, if the charge is very large, what happens? Size will be very small, nuclear force will be very large, so that complex are attached to the surrounding ligands will be very strong bonds. In that case, replacing one ligand with newly coming ligand is a very, very difficult process. That's the reason why among all the known central atoms, sulfur is associated with +6 oxidation state, where the strong bond is present between sulfur and the surrounding fluorine atoms. Hence, in this case, lower exchange rate of ligand will be possible. Right? Among all the set of A molecules, SF6 having lowest rate of ligand exchange. Now let us consider second case, where all the complexes are associated with 6 water molecules, and the charge and the ligands, charge and the complex also exactly same. In this case, In this case, only the possibility will be central atom. The central atoms are different. Now we have to go with the size of central atom. All these are the metals of group 2 elements. Here, what are the second group elements? One is beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. All these are the metals. As we are descending down from the top to bottom, what happens? Size gradually increases. As the size of atom is increasing, what happens? The ability to bind with the surrounding ligands will be decreased, because the charge density on the central metal will be less. All metals are acquired by +2 charge only, by dye positive only. But when the size of atom increases, charge density will be gradually decreases, so that attachment with the ligand will be somewhat reduced. In that case, when we are moving from magnesium to calcium, calcium to strontium, strontium to barium, size gradually increases. So ligand binding strength decreases. So easy exchange of ligand is possible. Which is the shorter one? Magnesium is the shorter one. So that strong binding will be there, so that it will not lose the ligand very easily. Hence, this will be the right answer. Magnesium will be the right answer, right? So in the first case, we are calculating based on their oxidation state. In the second case, based on their size of the central metal atom, we are going to predict the ligand exchange rate. First one, SF6 is the right answer. In the second one, magnesium hexaquo complex is the right answer. For question number 68, option number 2 will be the right answer, right? Now, let us discuss about the question number 69. Consider the following statement for uranium plus 3. Uranium plus 3 is the kind of lanthanide element, and it is associated with the atomic number 63, and fluorine is associated with, not fluorine. F orbital is resided with 6 electrons in it. Uranium plus 3 is of 6 electron system. Now, we have to predict what kind of statements are given are correct. So the possible sharp bands of UV visible spectra of its complex depends heavily on ligand environment. Okay, always these are able to give the sharp bands instead of the broader UV visible spectral lines. That purely depends upon the type of ligand associated with this uranium. That is exactly correct statement, and we can add this to a right state. And this about its ground state term symbol will be 7F0. Let us predict its term symbol. In order to predict the term symbol, 4F6 system can be written like this. F orbital being it is a 7 electron system, 7 degenerated d orbitals will be there. In this distribution of F electrons will be like this, and M values are given like this: -2, -3, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, +3. These are electron M values for the given unpaired electrons for uranium plus 3. Okay, so in order to predict the L value, if L value is 0, that is designated as s orbital. L value is 1, p orbital. L value is 2, d orbital. L value is 3, f orbital. And already we know valency electrons are present in f orbital. Hence, we have to assign L is equal to 3. L value is denoted with 3, right? F orbital it is. And how can we write term symbol? Term symbol will be written as L to the power 2s plus 1. L to the power 2s plus 1, and subscript will be J value. So let us represent here. It can be represented like this: L to the power 2s plus 1, and here subscript should be given as J. This is a representation of term symbol. What is L here? For f orbital, L is given as F only. So F is taken here. Right? Now let us predict 2s plus 1. S is nothing but spin of the electrons. How many electrons are there? We have 6 electrons in the f orbital, and each electron is associated with plus half charge, because all are in the positive spin only, right? So 6 electrons having half, so the spin of the electrons will be 3. 6 electrons half, that's why it will become 3. S value is 3. 2 into 3 plus 1 it will be. 2s plus 1 calculated as 2 into 3 plus 1. So 2s plus value will be 7. 2s plus value will be 7 here. F will be there. Now we have to predict the J value. In order to calculate the J value, we have two conditions. One is completely filled orbital. Second is partially filled orbital. If more than half filled orbitals are there, this J value is calculated by taking L plus S value. L plus S will be considered for more than half filled. If less than half filled is there, the value will be calculated by taking L minus S. The less than half filled because only 6 electrons are there. More electron is required to get completely half filled. That's why we have to go with L minus S formula. J is equal to L minus S. L value is 3. S value is also 3. 3 minus 3, it will become 0. That's why here subscript will become 0. 7F0 is the symbol for this uranium plus 3. So the second statement is also exactly correct answer. And C will be the observed magnetic moment is due to populated higher J value. J value, what is the J value here? J value is 0. How can we say higher J value? So this is not the right statement. Higher J value will not be imparted for this one. So option number C is the wrong statement. What is the option number D? At 2 Kelvin, its magnetic moment approaches 0. The set of correct statements. Okay, when we are reaching 2 Kelvin temperature means minus degrees centigrade, we are going. At the temperature, what happens? Orbital movement compensated by spin movement. Actually, we have so many unpaired electrons in the outer valency shell. It should be highly paramagnetic in nature. But when we are reaching minus 2 degrees at that condition, orbital movement compensate spin moment. Both the perpendicular vectors will be compensated so that its magnetic moment becomes 0. No magnetic moment will be imparted for this compound at 2 Kelvin temperature. So option number D is also right statements with respect to this uranium plus 3. That's why A is correct, B is correct, C is wrong, D is correct. For 69 question, option number 3 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 70. And question number 70, it is given with iridium complex, right? Iridium chloro COE PME3 taken thrice, whole thrice. It is added with epoxide, and what will be the product here, right? So this is the kind of inorganic reaction mechanism, coordination chemistry reaction mechanism question it is. Now we have to go with how the reaction is carried and what will be the product. COE stands for cyclooctene. COE stands for cyclooctene. Now let us see how it will be possible. When the initial complex iridium Cl COE PME3 whole taken thrice was taken, it is a kind of 18 electron system. When we are cyclooctene moiety was removed from this, it will become 16 electron system. The 16 electron system having strong tendency to bind with this newly coming ligand. This is somewhat related with SN1 type of mechanism. First, elimination of leaving group, subsequent addition of new nucleophile or new ligand is possible. When this epoxide is come closer to this one, what happens? Electrons are preferably migrated towards oxygen. Oxygen resided with my carbocation will be there. This carbon will directly bind to the iridium now. When it bound to iridium, there is a formation of CH2. Here, oxygen acquired with minus charge, so it will be represented as O minus oxide. And in either, this carbon is also having side chain, that is CH3 is there. Now, what we will do? This pi bond will be, negative charge will be shifted so that here carbon oxygen double bond will be generated and hydrogen will be eliminated from the center. We will get here acetyl functional group upon this iridium, which is represented in the octahedral complex structure. Iridium, central iridium is associated with 1 chloro. Here 1 chloro is represented. How many PME3 groups are there? PME3 groups are 3. 1, 2, 3 PMA groups are there, and one hydrogen is also associated with this one. Hydrogen is there, and another this CH2 C double bond was CH3. This is a kind of acetone moiety, acetyl moiety. Acetone moiety is there, and that is added with this iridium. Okay, so in this way mechanism is represented. Let us see which structure is giving the correct answer for this one. Option number 2 will be the right answer, where we have chloro, 3 PME3 moieties, and one hydrogen is there, and this acetone moiety is also directly linked to the iridium. So for question number 70, option number 2 will be the right answer. By this, we completed all 10 questions of series 1, CSIR NET Chemical Science JRF, December 2018. In the next session, we will go with the continuation of this session, and the next question onwards, we will go with the detailed explanation. Hope it will be very much helpful. Thank you one and all for your patience listening. Thank you very much.